Hello everyone. In the previous videos, I have explained what is static variable, what is static method in detail. In this video, I am going to explain about how we can use static keyword with block. That is, I am going to explain about static block. Why Java people introduce static block in Java, what is need of it, what's the purpose of static block, how to create it, what's the syntax of it, how to call it, as well as I will explain in what scenarios we should use static block in program. And at the end, I will give quick review on static block. All I will explain in this video. So just keep watching till end. You will clearly understand it. Okay. So let's begin it directly through an example. It will give better understanding about static block. So here I am taking one simple program. Through that program, you will clearly understand about what is static block, why Java people introduce static block, what is need of it, how to create it, how to call it, and all. And most importantly, you will clearly understand in what scenarios we should use static block in program. All your concept will get clear due to this one single program. So just concentrate here, okay? So first of all, we will need to create a class, and it's class phone that already I have created. And every phone has its own properties or fields such as color of phone, screen size of phone, and all. And in Java, we can define properties using variables, right? So let's create variables. String phone color, int phone screen size. Similarly, every phone has its unique IMEI number, right? So let's create one more variable and it's phone IMEI number. So these are the instance variables. Okay. Now let's assign value to these instance variables. That means let's initialize these instance variables so that we can use those values in program. And in Java, we can initialize instance variables using constructor, right? So let's create a constructor. Phone and pass here parameters. String phone color, int phone screen size, and then int phone IMEI number. And right here, phone color equals to phone color. Phone screen size equals to phone screen size. Similarly, we can write for IMEI number. Phone IMEI number equals to phone IMEI number. Okay. All right. And now let's call this constructor so that value will get assigned to these instance variables. But we cannot call a constructor explicitly in Java. It automatically get called at the time of object creation, right? So for that, we will need to create an object of phone class. So let's create it. So let's create it inside main method. Phone, and it's suppose phone 1 equals to new phone, and pass here values that will match to these parameters. Okay. The color of phone, suppose black, and screen size, suppose 5 inch. Okay. And IMEI number, suppose 2011205. So IMEI number should be 15-digit number, but here I am taking only 7 digits. Okay. All right. So at the time of execution, phone class object will create with its instance variables on heap area. And then this constructor get called and will invoke this parameterized constructor. Then the value of color, that is black, will store in local variable phone color, and screen size will store in a local variable phone screen size, and IMEI number will store in a local variable phone IMEI number, and then will get assigned to these instance variables accordingly. Okay. So in this way, we can assign value to the instance variables using constructor. Okay. Now I want to access values of these instance variables and print on console. So for that, we will need to create one method here that will display data on console. So let's create it, and it suppose void display method and print here phone color. Similarly, write for phone screen size. Similarly, we can write for IMEI number. Now call this method using phone class object. Phone one dot display. Now let's run the code. You can see on console we have got expected output. Phone color is black, phone screen size is 5 inch, and phone IMEI number is 2011205. Similarly, if I create thousands of phone with same color that is black and with same screen size that is 5 inch as per the requirement of client. So for that, I will need to create thousands of phone object and will have to pass same value for color and screen size thousands of time for every object, right? Such as, let's create one more object here. Just copy and paste it. So here, color and screen size will be same because I have to create phones of same color and same screen size. So color will be same and it's black, and screen size also will be same and it's 5 inch. But IMEI number will be different because every phone has unique IMEI number. So IMEI number, suppose 2011655. Okay. And call here display method for phone to object. Okay. Same like this, I will have to create thousands of phone objects as per the requirement, and will have to provide same value for color and screen size thousands of times. Because color and screen size are same or common for all the objects. That's why we'll have to provide it as it is for all the objects. So basically, if we think, I will have to repeat same code thousands of times. And JVM also will allocate memory for these fields, color and screen size thousands of times on heap area. As a result, it may consume more memory, and somewhere it can create memory issue. And to resolve this problem, static variables play a very important role. And about static variable, I have already explained in previous video. So instead of repeating same code thousands of times, which is common for all the objects, we can simply declare it as static. That is, we can declare these variables as a static. So just declare this variable as static that are common for all the objects so that all the objects can share it commonly. No need to write it for every object. And memory issue also will resolve because static variables get stored in metaspace and not will store on heap area. And hence JVM also won't allocate memory for static variables in heap area. So let's go ahead and declare this variable as static, and this one also as well. Okay. All right. Now these are the static variables, and static variables are belong to a class, not belong to any particular object. And hence it doesn't make any sense to initialize static variables using constructor because constructor is work at object level, not class level, and hence constructor is used to initialize instance variables because instance variables are belong to an object. So basically it doesn't make any sense to initialize static variables using constructor. So let's remove this from here, from here, from here, and from here also as well. Okay. So here I have initialized instance variable using constructor. What about static variables? That means we will have to initialize static variables also so that we can use it in a program. So here big question arises that how we can initialize static variables in Java. That is how we can assign value to this static variable color and screen size, right? So you are thinking that simply assign value to these static variables at the time of variable declaration. That is here. So color is black, and let's assign screen size is 5 inch. Okay. So it's also valid. You can initialize static variables like this also. But problem is that if you have to create more than 100 static variables in a program and initialize all those static variables at the beginning of program, then it considered as a bad programming habit. And second thing, values should not be hard coded, as well as code should be standard so that it will be easy to maintain, to analyze, and to test, right? So as per the good programming habit, we cannot initialize static variable like this. So the question still remains same. How we can initialize static variables in Java, right? So to resolve the problem of static variable initialization, Java people might have introduced static block in Java. That means static block play a very important role to initialize static variables. So static block is used to initialize static variables, and hence static block is also called as static initialization block. So basically in Java we can initialize static variables using static block. And this is the main purpose of static block, or we can say this is the primary use of static block. So let's understand what is static block, how to create it, how to call it, and all. Okay. So first of all, let's create static block, and syntax to create static block is very simple. So just create here block and close with opening and closing curly braces and declare it with static keyword. That's it. And now initialize static variables here inside static block. So, so let's assign value for phone color is black and value for screen size is 5 inch. Okay. And remove these values from here. Okay. So this is static block. So basically static block is a block of code declared with static keyword, which helps to initialize static variables. Clear? Now question arises that how we can call static block, right? Basically, there is no specific way to call static block. It automatically get called at the time of execution when class load into memory. There is no need to call it explicitly. It automatically get called implicitly at the time of class loading by JVM. Okay. Now let's run the code. But before that, let's understand execution flow of program. It will give better understanding about how it work internally. Okay. So at the time of execution, first class will load into a memory. That means first .class file will load into a memory by JVM. And after that, at first, JVM will allocate memory for static variables in metaspace. And then static block get execute and will store values of static variables on their reserve space in metaspace. And then program control goes to the main method and execution start from the main method. So first control come to this and phone class object will create. And then this constructor get call and will invoke this constructor. And value of IMEI number will set to this a local variable phone IMEI number. And then we'll assign to this instance variable phone IMEI number. Then control come to this and display method get call and will invoke this display method. Then control come to this and the value of phone color which is stored in a meta space will get retrieve and will print on console. Similarly, the value of screen size which is stored in a meta space will get retrieve and will print on console. After that, the value of IMEI number which is stored on heap area will get retrieved and will print on console. Okay. Then control come back over here and same process of execution will happen for phone2 object. That is, phone2 object will create and this constructor get call and we again will invoke this constructor. And this value will set to this local variable IMEI number and then will assign to this instance variable. Then control come to this and this display method get call and will invoke this display method. And again the value of phone color which is stored in a metaspace will get retrieved from metaspace and will print on console. Similarly, the value of screen size also get retrieved from metaspace and will print on console. And the value of IMEI number which is stored in a heap area will get retrieved and print on a console. Okay. And then program control come back over here and program will terminate after completing main method. Okay, clear? Now let's run the code. Let's see. You can see here we have got expected output. Phone 1 color is black, phone 1 screen size is 5 inch and phone 1 IMEI number is 2011205. Similarly, we have got phone 2 color is black, phone 2 screen size is 5 inch and phone 2 IMEI number is 2011655. So in this way we can initialize static variables using static block, and this is the main purpose of static block, to initialize static variables. So simply keep in mind, if you have to initialize static variables then you can simply go with static block. Okay. Now let's understand the another scenario where we can use static block in a program. Now imagine in programming if there is a situation to execute block of code at first at the time of class loading before executing main method. Then in that situation you can put that code inside static block so that it will get executed at first before main method. That means, for example, if you are working on JDBC or any other database related operations, then in that case, before performing any database related query or operations, first you will need to write code for database connectivity, right? Such as create database connection, load database drivers and all. So you can put that database connectivity code inside static block so that all the required database related resources will set up at once at the time of class loading, and you can use it throughout a program to perform database operations. For better understanding, let's understand it as a real life point of view. Okay. So at your home, your mother set up dining table before serving food to everyone. That means your mother set up all the things such as she adds dishes to the table to serve food, as well as if there is a soup, then she adds soup bowl or soup spoon and all. Basically, your mother set up all the resources at first that are required before serving food. Similarly, we can set up all the resources or code at first at the time of class loading before executing main method by using static block. Clear? So always keep in mind you can put any code inside static block that you want to execute at the time of class loading before executing main method. And this is the another purpose of static block. Clear? So basically, static block help to execute code at the time of class loading before executing main method. Clear? So these are the main purposes of static block, or we can say these are the main uses of static block. So after discussing all the scenarios about static block, a lot of questions come into the mind, such as in a program, does static block execute first or constructor execute first? Because static block and constructors both get execute automatically at the time of execution, right? So question comes that which one execute first, static block or constructor? So let's try to get the answer of this question. See here, we can check it out. Just print here one message and it is I am static block. Similarly, let's print one message here inside constructor and it's I am constructor. Okay, all right. Now let's run the code. Let's see which one execute first, constructor or static block. You can see here static block execute first and then constructor get execute. And reason is simple. Static block execute during the class loading into a memory. Whereas constructor is belong to an object, right? And therefore constructor get execute at the time of object creation. And object creation takes place inside main method. And execution of main method start after class loading. And therefore constructor get execute after static block. Clear? And second question come into our mind is, can we create multiple static block in a single class? So let's check it out. So for that, let's consider this is first static block. Okay. So here we can write, hi, I am static block 1. Similarly, let's create another static block. Okay. And print here, I am static block 2. And create one more static block and print here, I am static block 3. Okay. All right. Now let's run the code. But before that, let me comment out this line and this line as well. It unnecessary will create confusion. Okay. Now let's run the code and let's see. You can see here code compiles fine without any compilation error. And we got an expected output. So it's proof that we can create multiple static blocks in a single class and no problem at all. Now see here, if I change order of static blocks, that means if I create static block 2 at first, that is here, and then static block 1 and then static block 3. So here I have changed order of static blocks, right? First I have create static block 2, then static block 1 and then static block 3. And now if I run the code again, then what will be the order of execution of static block? That means which static block will execute first? Static block first, static block second, or static block third. So let's check it out. Which one will execute first? And we can do one thing here. Just write here static block 2. And here we can write static block 1. And here we can write static block 3. Now let's run the code. Let's see. You can see here static block 2 is execute first, then static block 1 is execute, and then static block 3 is execute. So if we notice here, order of execution of static block is same as the order of static block that I have created in a class, right? So always keep in mind, if a class have multiple static blocks, then they will execute in the same order as they written in a class. That is, the order of execution of multiple static block in a class will be from top to bottom. That is, top to bottom they will get execute. Clear? Now another question come into our mind about static block is, if static block execute at the time of class loading, so there is no need to create object and all to execute it. And hence there is no need of main method and all, right? So question comes that, can we execute static block without main method? And this is very important as well as frequently asked question in many interviews. So let's understand. So to check it out, we will need to create another class. So let's create it. So go to the file, new and class, and provide name for class here. I need suppose this. Okay. All right. And create here one static block. And let's print here, hi, I am static block. And now let's run the code without creating main method. You can see here we got an error. Main method not found in class test. Please define the main method. So let's define main method and run it again. Okay. You can see here code compiles fine without any compilation error and we got an expected output. So it's proof that we cannot execute static block without main method. So main method is mandatory to execute static block inside class. Because at the time of execution, after loading a .class file into a memory, at first JVM check for the main method. If main method is available there, then start executing static block from top to bottom. Otherwise, it raise an error. Basically, it's not possible to execute static block without main method. But before Java version 1.6, it is possible to execute static block without main method. That is, before Java version 1.6, we can execute static block without main method. But after Java version 1.6, it is not possible to execute static block without main method. Because after Java version 1.6, after loading .class file into a memory, first JVM check for the main method and then start execution. So always keep in mind, until Java version 1.6, it is possible to execute static block without main method. But Java version 1.6 onwards, it is not possible to execute static block without main method. Clear? Now I'm going to summarize all the points on static block once again. Okay. So static block is a block of code declared with static keyword. And next point is static block automatically get called implicitly at the time of class loading by JVM. We do not need to call it explicitly. And another point is a class can have multiple static block. That means we can create any number of static block in a single class. Okay. And next point to be remembered is static blocks are execute in the same sequence as they written in a program. That is, the order of execution of multiple static blocks occur from top to bottom. As well as we have discussed two uses of static block. First one, static block helps to initialize static variables. And second one, static block helps to execute code at the time of class loading before executing main method. That means if you want to execute any code at the time of class loading before executing main method, then you can simply put that code inside static block so that it will automatically get executed at the time of class loading before main method. Clear? And one more point to be remembered about static block is to execute static block main method is mandatory. Without main method, we cannot execute static block. Clear? So these are the points that we should remember about static block. That's it. So this is all about static block. In the next video, I will explain how we can use static keyword with nested class. That is, I will explain about static nested class. Okay. Now I'm going to end this session. So keep learning, keep growing, and thank you so much for watching.